Hi everybody, this is Joshua Kirk back with you guys once again on YouTube. And now it's time for episode 58 of Album of the Day. And before we get to it, I'd just like to mention that I haven't done videos in a while. Because I've done so many videos lately and just felt like I needed a break. So I took a break for a couple of weeks. But now I'm back and fresh, ready to do episode 58. So today's band is an artist that I reviewed back in January from Austin, Texas, called Spoon, one of the better indie rock bands out there, who have continued to put on some of the most consistent indie music to be put out in this music scene that's going on in our world. I reviewed their 2002 album, Kill the Moonlight, back in January, as you may remember. And I'm here to review Spoon's debut album released on April 23rd, 1996. The album is called Telephono. This was originally released on Matador Records in 1996, but in 2006, Merge Records reissued Telephono. So this is the copy I have here. The Merge reissue, which kind of made sense that they reissued it because the Matador print only sold like a few thousand copies. But anyway, there's the cover, really unique cover art on here, spine in the back, and this is produced by John Crosland and recorded on his 8-track during the spring of 1995. And the songs on here are Don't Buy the Realistic, Not Turning Off, All the Negatives Have Been Destroyed, Si Vantes, Nefarious, Clause Tracking, Dismember, Idiot Driver, Counter, Wanted to Be Your, Theme to Wendell Stivers, Primary, The Government Darling, and Plastic Mylar. And this also includes an enhanced CD proportion, which is the Not Turning Off video. And there's the inside. Not a whole lot of bells and whistles, but once again, some very unique artwork on there. And there's the CD itself. And that's the packaging for Telephono by Spoon. So, this album has, some, old classics by the band, which include songs like, Not Turning Off, and Don't Buy the Realistic, The Government Darling, and, Nefarious. So it opens with Don't Buy the Realistic, which, has this weird little intro, which is basically, the band playing their instruments along with a swirl full of effects, which sounds kind of like a shortwave radio, basically kind of looped and all this weird stuff on there. So there's a shortwave radio effect odyssey that's going on at the beginning. Excuse me. And then, of course, the actual song comes in, and it's just, a really killer track, and, one of the standouts from the album for sure. And then there's, some of the highlights on this album would have to be, some of, more kind of the pop rock tunes, like Dismember and, Plastic Mylar. Those are some, good little, pop rock tunes, going on there with some great, melodies, along with the original bassist, Andy McGuire, singing, a nice little, hook, on a Dismember. So, Dismember's one of my favorite songs on the album, so it's a shame we won't get to hear that song live again, because Andy left the band, and she had a pretty big part on that vocally. And I really like the song Idiot Driver. I think the bass line on it is just, so cool and fuzzy. Like, so like the production on this album is very well done. Like Andy McGuire's bass, like on tracks like Idiot Driver, where it's fuzzy as hell and, just sounds awesome. Some, and also really like the surf rock instrumental on here, theme to Wendell Stivers, which Wendell Stivers is like the nickname for a guitarist the band used to have called Greg Wilson. And that's one of the more experimental tracks on the album because it has like these little it has like these weird little like spacey synthesizer effects on there, along with the use of acoustic guitars. And just, some really cool guitar riffs to listen to on that one. And the song, there's a lot of lyrical concern going on with this album too, with songs like, for example, like Not Turning Off has lyrics about like when you have this kind of feeling that comes over you that, keeps you up at night, and like so it's kind of about like having some sort of like unexplainable feelings, and you're just not turning them off no matter how hard you try. So that's one of the more lyrically like kind of anxious songs on the record. The same thing with what was that other song that was like that? The song Wanted to Be Yours, sort of like that. It's kind of about, like, you want to be with someone, and you're like, trying to prove to them that you weren't uptight about them, but, but at the same time, you were kind of feeling kind of uptight around them because there was something about them that, you couldn't explain that. Just kind of kept you up at night and all that stuff. So there's a lot of lyrical anxiety on this album. And just, so some amazing, riffs on there. Like, Claw's tracking is one of the standouts from the whole record because it has some of the best riffs on that one. Another song with some really good riffs would have to be like C. Vontez has some good riffs on it. It's like one of the more like laid back moments on the album. That's like still got heavy guitars, but at the same time like kind of a laid back feel going on with this song, which is kind of the same thing with Towner, which is actually a cover, which has it still has sort of like heavy guitars, but at the same time it's like very laid back. So like some very simple instruments on here, guitars, drums, bass, with a few extra little things. Like there's some throughout the album you'll hear things like there's some tambourines that they're throwing in there, some shakers, maybe a piano here and there, maybe a synthesizer, maybe some shortwave effects, like Don't Buy the Realistic and Primary have some pretty obvious, shortwave sounds on there. And the same thing with the middle of Not Turning Off, which I didn't see coming. And then there's all kinds of and then there's all kinds of percussion on here, like All the Negatives Have Been Destroyed has this percussion sound that's like kind of sounds like maybe bongos or something like that. Like I'm hearing like maybe some bongos on this album a little bit, especially on All the Negatives Have Been Destroyed. Which All the Negatives Have Been Destroyed is another song on there that has, once again, kind of the lyrical concern throughout the record. And then there's one thing I almost forgot to mention, the vocals from Britt Daniel on here. Britt Daniel has this ability to just put a lot of passion into his vocal performance. And on this record, you see that he can sing pretty, and but then other times he's like really good at like yelling, like for example on the song Primary, which is just a short little like 1 minute track that's more about tying the record together than being a standout track. Like on the song Primary, there's some pretty evident yelling that Britt is doing on there. And plus, there are other songs that sounds as if he's maybe speaking into a walkie-talkie or something like that on tracks like Towner and Claw's Tracking and Idiot Driver, which has a driving bass line, which kind of makes sense. It's like one of my favorite like odes to driving, in my opinion. So like the vocals from Britt Daniel are like very like passionate and very good, and then there's Andy McGuire's voice, which so there's a nice little blend of like boy girl harmonies going on here, because of Andy McGuire's really distinctive backup vocals on here, which pretty much reeks throughout the whole album. Like some of the best harmonies on here would have to be on tracks like Dismember has a catchy little hook on it. And then there are other songs where you hear both of their voices just going so well together on songs like Don't Buy the Realistic and Nefarious, which Nefarious is kind of about like just kind of unexplainable pain, basically. So the lyrics on here definitely have a lot of concern to them and are basically about unexplainable pain, pain and all that stuff. And like the song Nefarious is kind of about that. So Telephono isn't Spoon's best album. In fact, they've put out better records in my opinion. Like my 3 favorite albums of theirs would have to be Kill the Moonlight, still at number 1. A Series of Sneaks would have to be number 2, and Ga 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 would have to be number 3. Although 4 and 5, I think would have to be like 4 would have to be Girls Can Tell, 5 would have to be Gimme Fiction, as that's another album with some really creative production on it. Arguably one of the more experimental records by them, and definitely darker, but still, Gimme Fiction's a good Spoon album. So far my only gripe with this album would have to be it's too short for me a little bit. Like, Spoon's earlier work, like the first 2 albums were maybe like a little too short for me, but still, like, what really matters is that it's good quality music, so, so I would have to give Telephono, maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I'm partly kind of feeling a 7 because of how short it is, but at the same time kind of thinking of an 8 due to how consistent Spoon tend to be with their albums, even if Kill the Moonlight is a better album than this one. In fact, Kill the Moonlight is better than this one, but like Telephono is still like a very good debut by the band, and it's sort of a good start. It's sort of a good start because it lets them start out simple and then just kind of work their way up. So that's my review of Telephono, giving it an 8 out of 10, and I'll see you for episode 59.